Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today this video will be much more of a concept video rather than focused on something going on. The video's concept is the East versus West strategy problem. Now this is a video that is connected to my Trump's Iran invasion video. So if you watch that video first, you would have a very good idea about what I am going to talk about in this video. Now the concept is simple: attacking from wrong direction and not having a actual plan for the war, how this would affect the war itself, and of course your side of the war. And as you may know, in my Iran video I talked about the bases that America has on Middle East. Most of them are in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, in Iraq, and in Syria. And these bases are filled with ready to be deployed soldiers, and basically has everything that is required to go to war. Light armored carriers and tanks, and many things that our army requires. Now there is a problem with this. The problem being that they are completely located in the west side of this war, and the west side of Iran is, as you can see, these places, these Kermanshah, Masabatan, Saimara and Tustar, Luristan, Sardan. It goes like a literally a natural war that closes the Iran to the west, and it literally works like how China's Great Wall works, but it's much better because it's much more taller and it's much more it has a much more of a terrain effect rather than it's just a wall that you need to break. This is a natural wall that goes upwards, and it's really hard to basically be in this let's say Ahvaz and just go over here to Isfahan. You literally need to cross these mountains, and in a modern warfare it is basically going to be hell on earth. Now I talked about this in my Iran video, how there should be, if there is going to be an ground invasion, it should be happening in the east, because in the east the basically flatlands are much more closer to landing points. That could be, let's say you landed in Vilayah of Jabal Kufs and you landed in basically this place. There is one mountain here, and after that the country basically opens up, and the country's most important parts open up, meaning that places that are flat, meaning the places that will have factories, industrial generally anything, like maybe ore refineries and maybe oil refineries. These lands are, like I said, lands are flat, meaning that most of the economy functions are in these places. In modern times, economy doesn't really exist in mountainous and hard to navigate terrain, that being these mountains too. So it is much economy of the Iran has to be like, this is kind of a rule in modern times, that it has to be focused on this part of the land. It can't be here or in these mountains where they are basically supplying and logistically making better and better, basically preparing war to make their war in these mountains. The problem of this war, like I said, from again United States point, is that most of their logistical preparations are done in west, which signals a invasion from west. Like if you are Iran and you looked at the map of bases that America had close to you, and where they could, you know, try to invade you, there is the biggest option is the basically west, that being these military bases in Qatar, Saudi, Iraq, and Syria. Sorry, sometimes Turkish slips in. And most generals would 100% lose this war. That's what I believe, because they would just go, well, the base is closest to west, so I should, you know, by sense attack from west. But there are mountains in here that you can't really cross, and this Iran isn't the Iran that Iraq attacked. This Iran is much more prepared, much more armed, and just ready for this. Basically, the whole idea of defense in their mind is these mountains that are looking at. I would probably say that they are ready to take casualties in these lands to protect them, as long as they can have basically choke points. One more problem with this attacking from west and having every single military base in the west is the problem of choke points and very high possibility of encirclements. Now, you, like in this map, of course we can't, well, actually maybe I can show it. You see this pathway here that goes like this. This is a choke point. Like you can't go up from this part of the land. Like you can climb this mountain and just be like, I'm going to climb this mountain and just go towards the you know, the flatlands of this country. Like you have to go upwards with vehicles. That, well, you can do it with infantry, but you know, modern warfare is much more vehicle focused, so you have to go up here and just go from this road, which is like, do I have to say that they are going to attack you in this road? Like, it's basically a road to death. Like there is no way that there won't be any anti-tank rockets, there won't be like the chance of not having these is basically zero at this war. Like it is, like you see here, like there is a pathway here that goes up like this, right, to be navigating. You know, it's kind of like a natural produced road to navigate these mountains. You know, of human beings produce natural roads when they constantly go in between places, that and they use the same land, same places to go through, so they produce a natural natural road. This is basically what that is, but there isn't any option. Like it's not flat. You have to go from singular place. Like this is a choke point. You have to go with tanks, light armored carriers in here, which is basic. Like you see this this place in the mountains top side. Think of this as a military base, and as if United States tries to invade through here, they have to go there. Like someone has to climb there. That is insanity. Like it is hellish, simply hellish. Think about that for a second. Think about being the guy that has to climb this mountain and reach to the top side to fight a military base. Like you didn't even climb the mountain to fight as something like insurgencies. You are climbing literally the mountain to fight a military base that is heavily armed and waiting for you, probably attacking you while you are crossing both this road and while you are climbing. Like it is hellish, and most generals would lose this war because, well, I don't think that they would care about casualties, especially if you are United States of America's general, you wouldn't, I don't think you would care about casualties that much, considering that, you know, there is literally 2 million people on your side. However, these places literally can cost you like hundred thousands maybe. It is simply hellish landscape that you need to overcome. So my idea instantly goes to producing an alternative to this. I mean, you can still try this and still try to go from, you know, these places where there is flat lands, land here, and go into the flatlands and where the actual economy and the actual important places are. And you can do both of these, but I genuinely wouldn't do this site. Like, this site is completely hellish landscape that you need to overcome, and you can't overcome. Because think about this, there is a road, there is a natural road in here that you need to go up here. You need to either go from here or go from here, or go from here to this road, and you need to go, then you will then reach to the flatlands, and where there are basically water and, you know, trees. Like, these places generally are regarded as desert mountains, and it couldn't be much more accurate. Like, there is no cover in these places. Like, there's no like, there are a couple of probably like rocks that you can go behind, but beside that there isn't much cover to be had, especially for vehicles. It would be simply hellish. And as you can see, and it would, the amount of choke points in here, the amount of roads that someone needs to go through, the amount of choke points that could be created, the amount of encirclement opportunities that Iranians would have is simply too much. The risk is not worth it, basically. And I don't think it's literally impossible to go from here to here. But if you want to attack Iran, and you go through east to inside, and you basically split the forces to two sides, causing them to not be able to focus on these mountains, you could actually not just overcome the effect of these mountains and basically use it to your own advantage, because you have the advantage of numbers. And since you have the advantage of the numbers, if you split the forces of Iran to two sides, one being to east and one being the other side being the west, where there are mountains, and you have to fight the, you know, in the mountains, and by doing this you can actually use the mountains for your own advantage. However, it still will be very costly. The amount of dead people will be insane, the amount of people dying will be insane, the amount of generally just casualties, vehicle casualties, and the amount of loss will not be worth it for this war. And however, this war seems like to me it is going to happen, and as Trump gets much more pressure from, well, Israel, and as the pressure goes up, as you can know, and the more they basically threaten Trump with higher and higher hooks, as I say, you know, the hooks and secrets that are known to Mossad, and Israel starts to use these to basically climb the aggressiveness of this war, which is a, it's, I personally do say with 99.9% accurate, it is going to happen. Like, there is no chance that it's not going to happen, because it doesn't benefit, well, Israel, and this fight is much more Israel's fight rather than America's fight. However, like I said, if America wants to be smart about this war, they would 100% need to try to go from east to upwards to the north, where there are flatlands and basically the economy of Iran is going on, rather than focusing on the west and trying to move these soldiers in west, having these military bases operate in the west where the mountains are, is simply a bad decision. I personally what I would do is that I would completely focus on the east side and just try to get a very good landing, and then just open up the Iran from here and then continue on. However, I wouldn't stop attacking these places, but I wouldn't just focus on it. I wouldn't make the main war front in the west, because it is simply a hellish decision that would basically cost the war. And I'm going to be very legit. I don't think America can win this war if they make the decision to attack to Iran from these choke points. It would have to be the dumbest human being alive to not look at these choke points and go, yeah, I think I'm going to ambush them here. Like the person that is going to lead these armies in Iran's side would have to be legitimately the most dumbest person on earth. And so what needs to be done is, even though, like I said, there should be engagement in these mountains, like these mountains should be tried, but not as the main front of this war. Main front of this war has to be the east side of the Iran, and USA kind of makes the navy produce some kind of good front in the east, and I think that is very, very possible. Like, United States of America has the best navy in the world. They use it again and again with aircrafts in many different forms. And what I would personally do, like I said, send probably some fighting force to fight in these mountains. I personally wouldn't overextend the mountain fights. Like, here is Iraq, right? And I would personally probably stick to a very small front, because if you overextend this mountain line, try to go from Iraq to these parts of these mountains and try to act smart and try to be like, but they probably don't have soldiers here. I could probably like go from a single choke point from here to go to Isfahan and other flatlands. That is you are getting played. That is not going to happen. They won't leave any mountains without troops, without any kind of logistical supplies. That will not happen. So not overextending and still trying these while still trying these mountains, producing a good invasion, naval invasion in the east is kind of the way to go. And basically giving orders to these bases where they are in in the west, just going, hey, support the invasion in the east as much as you can. In fact, maybe get this part of the land. As you know, there is a very small land on Iran, and just focus on here, and then just go from here to east side of the country and make the military bases in the west side of the Middle East to make a support to give support to basically eastern naval invasion. That's the way to go. But as I said, I wouldn't stop trying these mountains without because if you don't try these mountains and they completely focus on here, then that's still a problem. They are, you know, 100% focused on here, then you can produce a naval invasion with much of ease. And if you just focused on the west, then you are going to be basically slaughtered like a pig. Like that's the reality. And from what I've seen from Trump and Trump's administration and Trump's generally handpicked, like he says, generals, they don't seem that much capable of this kind of plan. So soldiers of the United States might be fucked, as they would say, because they seem to be thinking they are something like gods. This is the reality. You are not gods. You are made of flesh and bone. The way to superiority doesn't go from religion. It goes from being smart. That's today's subject. I wanted to point this out because I think in the other video, in Trump's Iran invasion video, I didn't really point this much about terrain and choke points and just how hellish of lands these are, and what is the current situation and what is currently going on. Well, this is my theory, by the way. Like I said, Trump administration doesn't seem that much smart on this strategy side of this war. They lost the propaganda because of Trump's certain decisions about his own individual life. Like I said, the West. So to summarize, basically, the Western military bases have to support an invasion from the east, and the United States of Navy has to come here and basically produce a naval invasion here, and it has to be successful. And while these Western United States of America's military bases support this specific eastern naval invasion, they still need to try these mountains, try to overcome these mountains, try to basically put forces here, so that Iran would put forces and focus forces here, so that they can reduce the defenders' numbers on the east side. That's what I was trying to talk about today. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys subscribe. I hope you guys click the notification bells, and just leave a comment if you think I'm wrong, which I can be. I'm not something like I don't really have a track record on these kind of things. I can be wrong. It's not something to be ashamed of, because you learn from being wrong, and if you are not wrong, then you can learn. You need to fail first to understand how to make things work, and this simple fact doesn't seem to be apparent with Trump and Trump's administration. Just saying.